Danton Lynn's deed is done. His 2-year tenure as USC's defensive coordinator, it's coming to an end when that final gun sounds once USC beats TCU in the Alamo Bowl. So the next question is, who's going to be the next defensive coordinator for USC? And will he be elite? I'm going to answer that question for you on this next episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. So whether you are watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, you get to pick the platform. This show is going to be free. This show is always going to appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, we know Matt Campbell is Penn State's new head coach. That came to fruition last week. We now know, after a few weeks of speculation, that Danton Lynn is going back home. He's going back to the place where he played. He's going to be the Nittany Lions' new defensive coordinator. So how did this come about? Well, I was running late, heading over to the head coach's press conference at the Alamo Bowl. All of a sudden, the news drops. Lynn's going to take over in Happy Valley. There it is, done. I was like, okay, that's the answer everybody's been waiting for. And, everyone's been wondering, well, what was the holdup? If this was like the worst kept secret in college football, I think the holdup was really just getting the financials in order, getting, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. I think what it came down to is on January 1st, Danton Lynn's buyout drops by like 50%, half. So January 1 is when the whole transaction will, I guess, take place. That's why, unless something changes between now when I'm talking to you all and when USC is playing TCU in the bowl game on Tuesday, the 30th, Danton Lynn will be the defensive coordinator for USC. That'll be his final game. And I wish nothing but the best for Danton Lynn. He's going home. He's going back to repair a broken program that he once played for. And he was a 3-time all-conference defensive back as a Nittany Lion. So you get it. That's where your heart is. When you think about it, he's going back to coach at a place where he played. You can't fault anybody for that. Yeah, it's a lateral move, but the pressure is going to be different. He understands what he's stepping into. I don't think there's any, and I'm using finger quotes, expectations for Penn State in 2026 other than to kind of lay the foundation, get the groundwork going so they can build towards 27, 28, and beyond. So I think this is a good move for all parties involved. At USC, I think he was starting to feel the pressure a little bit. All right, hey, we got to produce defensively or else, that type of thing. I'm not saying that was the final, the deciding factor, but I wouldn't doubt that played a little bit of a role in this whole thing. So yeah, less pressure on Lynn in 2026 back home because, it's a rebuild. USC, they need to make the playoffs in 2026. So now Coach Riley has to find a new defensive coordinator, and it's going to be his third one he'll be working with at USC since he took over the program. Remember, Alex Grinch for the first 2 years, Danton Lynn for these last final 2 years, 24 and 2025. 2026, who's it going to be? Well, let's talk about some names that are out there, some possibilities. #1 on the Hotboard, and it's kind of a layup. I mean, it's literally USC, make the deal, make it happen. Let's announce it the day after the bowl game. Or let's announce it during the bowl game. Why not, right? USC, TCU, it's the only game in town. The only game on TV for the entire day. Steal it. Steal the headlines. Make everybody talk about USC, not just winning the game, but who their new defensive coordinator is going to be as well. So again, #1 on the Hotboard. It's a layup. Go get Pete Kwiatkowski, former Texas defensive coordinator. He's 59 years old. He's been successful wherever he's laid his head down to rest. So whether that's at Montana State, Boise State, Washington, Texas, he knows how to get the job done. So he was at Montana State from 2000 through 2005. He then went over and started learning from Chris Peterson at Boise State. He was his defensive line coach first. And then when he took over, became the defensive coordinator, which I think was around 2010-ish through 2012. They always had a top 12 scoring defense each of those 3 years. All right. Chris Peterson decided, hey, time for me to step up. And there was a time when people thought, hey, he might be coming to USC. That never happened. He took the job up in Seattle, went to Washington. Coach Pete K, he followed him along. And in 2015, Washington's defense, Washington had a really good defense from 2015 through during Pete's tenure there. In 2015, they led the Pac-12 in scoring defense, allowing just under 19 points a game, 18.8 to be exact. Total defense, 351 yards per game. They were second in rushing defense, allowing just 125 yards per game. Pass efficiency defense, just 115.9, not bad. Here's the thing with Coach K. He does it with blue-collar guys. And I'll get to Texas here momentarily, but at Boise State, at Washington, Montana State, for sure, he was doing it with, again, call them blue-collar guys who carry their lunch pail to work, 3-star guys, borderline 4-star guys. He had an elite prospect in there at Washington every now and then. But mostly, it was just 3-4-star guys. The same type of talent level that USC's talent level has been getting better these last few years. But essentially what he's going to, if he gets the job at USC, what he would inherit at Southern California. The Huskies were always the best in the league in opponent giving up first downs and red zone defense. Again, he's an elite defensive coordinator. The 2016 team that he was coaching up there in Washington, number 1 in the Pac-12. Oh, and Washington made the playoffs for their first time. That was a 4-team playoff. Remember that? And then 2017 and 2018, his defenses also finished number 1 in the conference in total defense as well as scoring defense. Again, he knows how to get it done in a conference that's known for its offense. Then he jumped over to Texas in 2020, right? When he got over there, Texas's defense was kind of in the same situation. In fact, it was a little bit better, but similar to what USC was dealing with. 2021 was the rebuilding year, but you can tell that he was getting the ball rolling. The foundation was being laid. By 2023, Texas's defense finished number 28 in the country as far as scoring defense. In 2024, number 3. Last year, 2025, they dropped to number 25 in the country. So it was like, well, what happened? I'll get to that in a second. In 2024, Texas, they led the nation with 22 interceptions, and they were 15th in the country in sacks per game. Sounds kind of cool, huh? USC has been like almost the sack leader, just couldn't get to the quarterback in time. He's also, he coached 4 All-Americans that year in 2024, including the Thorpe Award winner, a Nagurski Award finalist, and the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year Award winner. So he recognizes talent as well. If it's elite, he can coach it up. He can develop it. If it's not considered elite, he can develop it. He can coach it up, get him into the NFL. So let's compare USC's defense to Texas's defense from 2025. Texas had the 37th ranked defense, USC number 49. Close enough, right? Yards per play, Texas was giving up just under 5 yards per play, 4.95. USC, 5.57. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but when you kind of peel back the layers, that was good enough to rank Texas's defense number 26 in that specific category. USC number 66. It's a big difference. Touchdowns allowed this year. USC gave up 33. Texas, 28. Those 5 touchdowns, I don't know. You think about one at Illinois. I can think of a couple at Notre Dame. Just saying. And I get it. It's not how it works. But I just want to point these things out. Give you guys to kind of go, really? And for those of you who are listening and not watching, I was scratching my head like I was, what was he talking about? Anywho, yards per game, USC allowed 348, almost 349 yards per game. Texas, 335. Mock Snicks. No big deal there. Here's where you want to kind of focus in, though. Texas was number 29 in the country in third down conversions allowed. USC, 63. That's significant. USC's third down defense wasn't great. Red zone defense, fantastic. I told you were asking, well, why did Sarkisian get rid of him? Well, the Longhorns defense got taxed. When I say they got taxed in 2025, it's because Sark's offense with Arch Manning as quarterback, they weren't very good. So the defense was on the field a lot, especially after a turnover. And typically they were in bad field position. So, when you're getting a lot of 3 and outs from your offense, your defense is probably going to wear out as the game goes along. So just to kind of add some context to why there was a drop in Texas's ranking defensively. Again, you give USC a top 25 ranked defense with a Lincoln Riley offense. Show me a loss on their schedule. And I don't care who they're playing or where it's being played. So yeah, you want Coach Kwiatkowski. The guy has got a resume and he's got it done everywhere he's gone. And it was interesting, he's had success wherever he's been, yet for whatever reason, Sark did not want to deal with him anymore. I'm wondering if it's because Pete said something to him. Because if you remember, when he was let go of his duties, on his way out the door, Coach Sark said, hey, I was, and I'm paraphrasing, and he's probably looking for a scapegoat here, but I got tired of babysitting the defense. What? I don't think that was really the case. But when your preseason 2025, everyone anticipates you're going to be in the playoffs, it's a 12-team field, and you got all those players and everything returning, and Arch Manning is the next best thing since sliced bread. I guess, again, Sark had to look for a scapegoat. Have to be the defense's fault, right? Whatever. So, yeah, Coach Lynn, he's out. A lot of people are thinking Coach Pete Kwiatkowski is the next guy in. We'll see. I'm going to talk more about, who USC could be looking at. Actually, let me give you some other names right now. In the next segment, I'm going to talk about Lincoln Riley taking a shot at Notre Dame. And in the third segment, USC's 2026 roster got better. I'm going to tell you why. But here's some other names. So if we know PK is number 1 on the Hotboard, other names to consider, I've heard Ryan Walters' name brought up. He's currently the defensive coordinator at Washington. He's young, but he plays an aggressive style, and his players like playing for him. Might not be a great head coach, but he's a really good defensive coordinator. Here's another name, and his name, Tony White. In fact, I was told he wanted the job at USC before Lynn got it. Tony White, I believe, was at Florida State. Here's a name to consider. He's already on staff. He's a former defensive coordinator himself, Doug Belk, right? He was the DC at Houston. With the talent he has coming in the secondary, I mean, with the 2025 class that they brought in and what you got coming in and with the 2026 cycle, this makes a lot of sense. Continuity. These players that are coming in, they understand who their position coach is going to be. It's either going to be Trojan Reed or Doug Belk. So let Doug Belk be the DC. He can still be in charge of the safeties. Trojan Reed can be in charge of the cornerbacks. Everything works out fine. And I want to throw this little caveat out there before we take a break. If Sean Nua decides to go to BYU, yes, that's being rumored. He will be their next defensive coordinator. Now, all of a sudden, let's not turn over the defensive coaching staff completely. However, let's bring back Coach O. I'm talking about this. Again, Doug Belk, he's got the secondary under control. I don't know, works. Let's say Pete Kwiatkowski gets the job. Okay, he's a linebacker specialist. He's a defensive ends type of guy. He played defensive end in college at Boise State. If he gets the gig, all right, he can be the defensive coordinator / linebacker coach. Let Coach O cook together. Imagine USC's defensive line. Imagine the recruiting. It's like I said, this seems like a layup. PK, defensive coordinator. Maybe he wants to be in charge of the linebackers as well. You got your secondary coaches in place with Belk and with Trojan Reed. And now you got a space. Bring in Coach O. O and Henny. Yeah, that's energy. That's passion. Woo, make it happen. All right, got 2 more segments to go. I'm gonna tell you what Coach Riley had to say at the head coach's press conference. It's not what he said, it's kind of how he said it. And then why USC's roster is that much better for 2026. It's coming up next. There is nothing like college football. The season, it's amazing. It's my favorite time of the year. The tailgates, the packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all, you love it, right? The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually, you know what you don't like? Getting tickets. That part used to be really frustrating, especially those long queues. You log it in, you get logged out, you got to log back in. Then all of a sudden the price jumps at checkout. All that sucks. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and the experience that come along with it. And you can do it in just a few taps. You'll love being able to see the view from your seat before buying. You're going to know exactly what you're getting. Game Time has these zone deals that stand out. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats. You save even more. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, Game Time. Thank you again for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Also, thank you for helping make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. For those of you who are listening and not watching, this is for my everydayers. Check this out. You already live USC every day. Level it up. Go ad free. You can join the Everydayer Club. All right. You're going to get Locked On USC with no interruptions. You're going to get the members only Discord access chat room. And there's more benefits than that. And you can get it all for just $5 a month, $50 a year. See the link in the show's description page for more information. All right, Lincoln Riley, Sonny Dykes, they were at the head coach's press conference at the Alamo Bowl. Not sure why they were doing that there, because literally you had to go back to the hotel headquarters for the team luncheon where everybody's in a big room together. Anyways, I'll get to that in my Friday rant. Back to this. So Lincoln Riley was asked about the USC Notre Dame rivalry. I wasn't the one who asked it. I wanted to, but again, logistics, couldn't get there in time. Doesn't matter. Question was asked. That's what counts. He was asked about the rivalry game that was, kind of put on the shelf because, USC, Notre Dame, they couldn't figure it out. I'm still not interested in who has more blame. Could not care any less. Okay? All I know is this. This whole thing has kind of been simmering for 2 years on the back burner. And during that whole time, Lincoln Riley would say, yeah, we want to play the game. Sure. So I came to USC, yada, 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 yada. I don't deny any of that. With that said, this last season, USC let Notre Dame run the narrative. The whole anytime, any place thing. And USC fans are wondering, what's going on? What's happening? That used to be USC's motto. Anyone, any place, anytime. Well, Notre Dame adopted it. Anyways, we know the rivalry is on hiatus. So Coach Riley was asked at the press conference, and he took the chance to kind of go on the offense. He's an offensive coach. Since look, USC and Notre Dame will not play again until 2030 at the earliest, if it happens. So here's what Coach Riley kind of leaned into. Remember that any place, anytime thing? Quote, had Notre Dame lived up to their word and played us anytime, anywhere, we would be playing in the next 2 years, and they did not follow through on it. Thus, we're not playing them these next couple of years, end quote. So Coach Riley's like, hey, you said you would play us anytime, anywhere. We gave you a couple of offers. You reneged. And Coach Riley even kind of piled on. He goes, and look, 5 minutes after they said no, thank you, they announced BYU, which has got to be the fastest scheduling adjustment ever made. So he was being sarcastic, showing a little bit of arrogance. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. That's who I am. With that being said, I just want to, for transparency purposes only, let's assume USC offered a week 0 game. Let's also keep in mind, because there are some rumors going around that this game was going to be, if it was a week 0 game in 2026, the game would be played in Mexico City. That was part of the whole Netflix deal conversation that was going on. Notre Dame said no. And the reason they said no is because for technical reasons with the NCAA, they wouldn't be able to schedule a second bye week. And again, I'm not clear on what the whole reasons or regs are, whatever. Notre Dame said, no, we're not doing it week 0. All right. I have no idea if an alternative date was offered in September or not. We know USC wants to get their out-of-conference games out of the way before they start up the conference schedule. Again, that's why I'm bringing that up. But I look, if that was USC's best offer, I think the Mexico City part of that offer, that needs to be mentioned. Again, just for transparency purposes. I'm not putting that on USC of not making a legitimate offer, but that needs to be out there. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So with that being said, I believe end of the year, November was also an option. I don't know why Notre Dame would say no to that. So once again, for the hard of hearing, I do not care who is at fault. Okay? Said it slow enough? Said it loud enough? However, I am having a hard time accepting this final outcome because the playoffs are the driving force behind this. This is the reason why the two bluest of blue bloods aren't playing anymore. Remember, right now, the playoffs are 12 teams. And everybody knows they're expanding to 16, if not more, sooner rather than later. Which means once you expand the playoffs to 16 or bigger, the regular season is going to be more diluted than it already is. Right? Those good games, those rivalry games, they're going by the wayside. Sonny Dykes tried to chime in after Lincoln Riley made his comments. We got to deal with something similar with SMU. And he got into the whole 9-conference game type of schedule. Okay. All right. Well, let me use that same argument. Because right now, all head coaches want to do is they want the path of least resistance to give themselves the best chance to get to the playoffs. Understandable. I get it. Don't like it, but I get it. But what are we talking about here? If the playoffs are going to be expanding, why would you be concerned about playing an out-of-conference game? Right? You're playing 9 conference games in one of the 2 toughest conferences in the country, the SEC being the other one. Let me remind everybody right now, perfect time. The SEC is going to a 9-conference game schedule in 2026. And they're also being mandated to play a team from a Power 4 conference. So now they're going to be playing 10 Power 4 teams out of a 12-game regular season. We know the Big Ten already plays a 9-conference schedule, a 9-game conference schedule. We know that. but there's no mandate for that and one. So here's my next loud message. Read the room, people, right? The SEC, right? They're already setting up the narrative. They're writing the playbook for 2026 and beyond. You're going to hear this type of statement. Well, look, the SEC conference is already, it's already a gauntlet, and we're playing a Power 4 out of conference team as well. We deserve to have more of our teams represented in the playoffs than the Big. That's going to be the narrative. Okay, don't get me wrong. I loved watching Coach Riley take a swipe at Notre Dame and say it with some arrogance. Love it. However, like MVP3, Marvin Powell III, and I, we talked about when the news broke about this whole thing coming down. No more excuses. If Notre Dame's not on the schedule, you're going 9 conference games and a 3-game out-of-conference schedule against teams you should beat, and they're going to be played at the Coliseum. 0 excuses. No more latitude. Your leash is gone. Make the playoffs in 2026. That's all I got to say. Okay. So kudos to Coach Riley. I love the way he said it. Kind of took a little sarcastic jab. Again, will Coach Riley even be around in 2030? Maybe that's why he said it the way he said it. Regardless, he said it. I liked it. I just wish the game was being played more than anything else. All right, moving on. I mentioned USC's roster got better for the 2026 season. I'll tell you why. That's coming up next. Fridays they already feel different during the basketball season. And FanDuel, guess what? It's making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame. It's a limited time window where special offers are going to drop right inside the FanDuel app right before the action tips off. Happy Hour is always fun, right? Always fun. But now you have an appointment. Fridays from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern have become your appointment viewing with the NBA Happy Hour. And the timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. So before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app. See what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour. It's every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, so the 2026 roster really starting to take shape. Elijah Paige, your starting offensive left tackle. He's coming back. He resigned for the season for 2026. That means you got 4/5 of your starting offensive line returning. Elijah Paige, Tobias Raymond, Keelan O'Connor, Justin Tawanu. What name did I leave off there? Yeah, you heard it. Right guard, Alani Noah. We'll see what happens. Right now, he's the only one who has not re-signed. Still got time. January 2nd is when the transfer portal opens. We'll see what happens between now and then. Now, getting a Paige to come back, huge, massive. I also heard from a really solid source who's on Longstreet. He'll be resigning. Don't worry about it. Alex Graham, same thing. They'll be back in 2026. So one more time, January 2nd, the transfer portal will be open for 10 days. The F word is going to get a workout, not the one you're thinking about. Well, maybe it is the one you're thinking about. That'll get used as well. In some cases, a lot. I don't think you're going to hear that word around USC very often. When I talk about the F word, when it comes to the transfer portal, recruiting, especially, talk about things are fluid. Things are always changing. You just kind of have to roll with the flow. There's another F word, flow. So with Paige returning, there is, again, zero reason for USC to hit the transfer portal when you need an offensive lineman. USC is young. They got the depth. It's talented. Zach Hansen has been doing a fantastic job. You saw what he was able to do with this year's offensive line, all the injuries. I mean, he had Kalen Miller, a walk-on, getting a lot of playing time, and he earned it. You saw he was able just to move the chess pieces around. Running game, still fantastic. For the most part, you kept Jade Mayava's uniform clean. The offensive line room is in good shape. So, again, Elijah Paige returning, that's huge. And if Kenai Pepe is the future at left tackle, Paige is the perfect bridge. You get that last season in, you find some spot playing time for Pepe, boom, you just keep the ball rolling, so to speak. Alex Graham, he's also expected to resign, anticipated to resign, which is huge. His versatility, playing inside corner, outside corner. I think his future is definitely at nickel, though. He's got that physicality to him. Oh, here's something. So someone in passing told me, we know Devin Tompkins is going into the transfer portal. I found out he already knows where he's going. And when I found out who, I was like, whoa, really? You know me. I'm never going to divulge a player's intended, where they're planning to go if they're going to the transfer portals as far as a team, unless they announce it first. Same thing if somebody's planning to enroll early or make an announcement for a college. It's not my place. I'll hint, I'll tease, but I'll never come out and say it. What I will say is this with Devin Tompkins. It's an SEC school, and I think it might surprise some of you when that name comes out, where he's going to end up going. So I wish Devin all the luck in the world, all the success. But I just wanted to kind of give you a little update there. Getting Elijah Paige back, huge. Getting USC's future quarterback, or one of, Husan Longstreet, anticipated to re-sign. That's big. Getting Alex Graham to re-sign, big. We'll see. We got a few more days to go. Got a few more players out there. We'll see what happens. I will be back with my instant reaction show tomorrow after USC plays TCU. I better be in a good mood. I've got enough stuff to worry about. I want to go out on a positive note. USC kicked TCU's butt. You got the 32 of the 35 guys from the number one recruiting class coming in the beginning of January. There's so much positive stuff going on. So let's end the year with a win, get that 10th win, keep the momentum going into 2026. Let's get that new defensive coordinator going. Think, again, Pete Kwiatkowski should be the guy, but there's a lot of options out there. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I will keep you updated with what's going on. So that next episode, instant reaction. Until then, everyone, you know what to do.